I think you've touched there on something fundamental about you. Don't let anyone tell you what you're supposed to be doing. I'm so sorry to tell you, but you just unlocked a very big piece of the puzzle.
So Janelle introduced us. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she's recommended I talk to you?
First of all, because of the topic of Ikigai, and she knows I spend a lot of time with it.
Okay.
I've written a little book back in 2022 that was called The Purpose Ladder.
Okay.
And it was all about this topic. And I was really introduced to this topic as a child when my father thought, well, that instead of giving me, a childlike answer to one of my questions, he gave me an entire speech on finding purpose in life. So I think Janelle immediately felt like, this guy needs to talk to you.
Okay, so we're doing Ikigai for sure.
I was very little when I noticed that I had a little propensity for speaking and writing. And I dreamt of being a best-selling author or even an actress, because I couldn't pull in any other way the one thing to talk publicly. And I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, I want to do this as a grown-up. And you might imagine, reasonable parent go like, oh yeah, we should see, whatever. And my father was like, how are these things called in between these lines on the floor?
Lines on the floor.
Yeah, he made me look at those
Okay.
in the studio. And he was like, your only job in life is to understand which one is your line. Whenever you understood that, you shoot for the moon, worst case scenario, you land amongst the stars. Don't let anyone tell you what you're supposed to be doing. Just ensure that you do that self-searching to find out what is that you want to do and go for it. So he gave me permission to go out there in the world and do my thing and go like, yeah, of course, this can also ensure for your survival because I have been modeled this, And, my advantage was I never did any regular job. I never worked for a company. I was looking for that polished Instagram bio that all those people had. And it just didn't fit with me. It was always, I had too many things, too many interests, and they did not seem like something that I could reconcile or bring together under one label that corresponded to some type of profession that people understand as a profession. And that was a struggle for me for the longest time. Because I always thought your purpose, your Ikigai is one specific line of work. And that just did not represent my truth. Eventually, I got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm trying to look at a specific job versus looking more at a reoccurring theme or function. And what I found it to be in my case was this taking on the role of the bridge, of the translator between worlds. Because what I was doing in any of those stages was always a work of translation. Even now, in my career as a coach, what I do is I bring together the Eastern sciences and Western sciences in my approach to coaching. I have a newsletter for expats in Malaga. What I'm doing is I'm translating local culture for the expat. It's like
That's
any
interesting, yeah.
project that I take on as somewhat of an aspect of translation. And I was like, oh, look at me. I was obsessing about just one topic, one niche. Whilst instead it seems that I have a tendency towards bringing worlds together. And that society has taken on a lot the idea that purpose has something to do with your job, right? It has become too much equaled with something utilitarian, something productive, something that I do for some type of transaction, right? And I believe that is a dangerous understanding of the word. I don't know, I imagine even in a not so remote future when a lot of people will lose their jobs because they will become redundant, right?
Yep.
And now they have associated their sense of identity, their sense of purpose to that contribution that will become absolutely obsolete. Now we're going to be having a problem, right, with that type of understanding. And
That's very interesting. I've been thinking a lot about Ikigai recently, and you opened with that. And I feel like Ikigai is flawed.
I'm curious.
There's
what
four
do you mean by that?
circles, right? What you love, what you're great at,
What the world
contribution,
needs.
what the
Yeah.
world needs, and then what you can get paid for.
Yeah.
What if we don't need to get paid? What if we're in a world where that no longer is necessary? And I think that's close future, to be honest. So I feel like
Okay.
Ikigai was created with the assumption that it was important to get paid.
I think that's how Ikigai was interpreted by the West, but not how it was originally conceived.
Interesting.
I see Ikigai as the ability to do whatever it is that you're doing with full involvement and full devotion to the process. Be fully present with what it is that you're doing right now, right? this can change along the years. Not, oh, just this thing, this is my big, right? And so this is how I understand that word. I understand it as, right now I'm devoted to this process. I will show up with full involvement to it. This is my ikigai right now.
And that aligns with my understanding of Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe your Dharma is something you're born with. It's a natural ability that kind of hints towards what your place is. But you'll find many different ways of implementing your Dharma through your life.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you feel that Dharma, as you understand it, connects with the idea of we all have certain gifts and these gifts want a certain kind of expression independently of, the business side of them?
Absolutely. But the way I've understood it from something I read is that we're all born with a role to serve in this life, in this universe. And we are given a set of natural abilities or gifts to allow us to do that. So we have these gifts as children, and it's a good indicator of what your purpose might be, but then we forget. Then society teaches us that we should do something different, or it's cool to do this, or maybe your parents want you to go do that, right? So you forget those gifts, you put them away. But it's when you rediscover them and learn to actually use them that you'll find true joy, pleasure, happiness.
I agree. And perhaps this reconnects us a little bit to what we were saying earlier, the fact that it doesn't have to come, at an exchange, a monetary exchange, because the joy of expressing your Dharma is in the process. It's not about outcomes. I feel that this returns also in several spiritual traditions, the idea, in Hinduism, you have in the Gita the sentence of you're entitled to your work, but not to the fruits of your work, right? This idea of you're here to express those gifts, contribute through them. It's like energy literally wants to move through you that way. You feel unwell if you don't.
Exactly.
Right? There is a sense of stagnation in life where we're not expressing our gifts. But whether there's going to be any guarantee of results, that's not the reason why we're doing it, right?
And I think the opposite is also true. I think when we're not using our gifts, we become unhappy. We feel unfulfilled. And I think post midlife crisis out there is people have lived a busy life. They might have achieved all of their goals, but without using their natural abilities or their Dharma. And now they're searching for meaning.
Yeah.
Exhibit A.
Do you feel that some people understand their dharmic path as a mission in a way? They charge it with a sense of I have to make this contribution in the life of others, and this sort of makes it more meaningful. Where do you feel that you stand in relation to that?
That's a good question, and I think there's probably some truth in that. I prefer a slightly different definition. I don't like should. I don't like there to be a mission that I have to find and follow. I'd rather follow pleasure and joy. And I think that when I do things that I'm naturally good at, I will have more fun and I will be a better version of myself.
Absolutely.
So instead of feeling someone else tells me I should do this, I'd rather discover that path of joy, of meaning.
Beautiful. I followed a similar understanding, just using the word excitement. You're saying joy and this idea of, when you have different options available to you, which one is the one that excites you the most? Not excitement in the sense of this, fickle thing that tomorrow we'll have forgotten about it, but in the sense of wow, there's a strong pull of alignment in a way. This is resonating in a way or with a depth that the other things are not. And then here is where we tend to have a little bit of insistence sometimes on how long this should spend. Oh, this is going to be my lifelong project. This is going to be the next 10 years. What if this is the next 2 years and you have, you've done your contribution in that specific lane. Now the excitement is moving you towards something else. Can we live with that? And I feel that a little bit of the older imprint of, how our parents and grandparents have gone about life and work, etc., is holding us back from considering this a legitimate way of going about it.
My dad was a doctor his entire life. He studied to be a doctor, he became a doctor, he got promoted, became a bigger, better doctor, fit bigger roles, right, until he retired.
Yeah, all set in stone.
One very straight path, and I think that was the norm. If you look at my CV, it would terrify any recruiter.
I challenge you that it be stranger than life.
I like to say I've had 7 careers.
Wow.
There are a lot of different jobs in there. Each career, I've had several jobs, but 7 areas that are so different that most people would consider them different paths.
Okay.
There's been red thread growing through all of it, right? I can tell that story. I can convince the recruiter it's okay. But I agree with you. Like, I don't think life has to be a straight path, and I think it can be a lot more fun, varied, fulfilled if we dare to follow our passions, our excitement.
Absolutely.
There's a drawback to that, maybe.
What's the drawback in your opinion?
A drawback is if you're switching a lot, you might not be building deep expertise, right? You might be missing out on the promotion and the salary increase. So if money and safety and stability is important to you.
Yeah. That can bring a dimension of instability.
Exactly. However, I choose to see it as I've built this breadth of experiences, which I can now bring into any situation.
Absolutely. And also how relative the idea of stability is, especially in the direction that we're headed. Right now, in the general climate of change is going so fast that anyone can barely keep up with it. I feel that people who have this varied range of experiences are so much more valuable, and they will inevitably be more sought after because they can adapt faster and better to so fast changing environments. They will require a multidisciplinary understanding of things, right? So what perhaps we have felt was a drawback is about to become an advantage really soon. Okay, I have one main career, right? The coaching career has been a red thread if you want, but I've always sought a passion project on the side that could nourish and nurture other aspects of my curiosity based on what is relevant right now in my life journey. So for example, if right now I'm new in Malaga and I'm interested in the sense of belonging, and for me, belonging comes through understanding. Part of this understanding is understanding of the local culture. I don't want to just be gravitating in an expert bubble and never, come into this. So naturally, my thing was like, well, I will integrate in this culture. I will read this culture. I participate in it, and I'll write about it because I love writing. And this turned into a newsletter. And the newsletter came into the idea of like, oh my God, a book can be written for experts who come here and want to have a first point of contact, a first translation of the local culture. And I've made it for myself, just in my mind, it's like, okay, it's a 5-year project. And then, I'll move on to the next thing that will become relevant in my life. To give myself permission to explore something within the confines of, to put it a deadline. Then of course the deadline could be, the 5 years could be 3 or 7, right? It's not rigid, but to give myself permission to explore other things that feel deeply relevant for me right now.
I read this book recently called Tiny Experiments. Loved it.
What's it about?
It's basically about designing small experiments for your life. Instead of trying to think your way to an answer, test your way to an answer. Okay, maybe this is true. This excites me right now. Design an experiment around it. 50 lunches. Okay, it has a fixed number. You can reflect upon it when you're done.
Beautiful. Do you feel that you've been guilty of this thing of like having the answer before, like thinking yourself through an idea and trying to, at the outset,
Oh, absolutely. I'm still doing that. I am an overthinker.
I can relate to this aspect of like wanting to have too much figured out at the outset and seeing through all the little details, and then life humbles you immensely. And you start the process and you go like, ooh, I love this concept of tiny experiments because it's probably the best way to counter this tendency, right? To say, let me give myself a safe environment in which I can trial something on a small scale and also see how sustainable it is. For example, to talk about the newsletter project, I set it up to be a weekly commitment. And I'm like, oh my God, every single week? Like, do you mean every week without skipping? So at first, my nervous system was like, that's quite a commitment. But as I went through it, I was like, oh, I can actually sustain it. I can write things in advance, I can prep it ahead, etc. But I had to experiment before I started saying it to people.
It's funny, just a side story. The author of Tiny Experiments, that was her first experiment. She wrote a newsletter. I think she committed to doing 100 newsletters, one per week. That's how it all started out.
Okay.
I'll send you a copy of the book.
Oh my God, yeah, now I need to read it.
Yeah. If good, you like it.
Beautiful. I love it.
I'll switch it up a little. I'm going to show you my Ikigai soon. I'm curious to get your input.
I'm very curious.
What perspectives do you think you'll be bringing into this part of the conversation? What lenses do you think you'll be applying when we start looking at my Ikigai?
I would say synthesis, the ability to identify systems that bring things together. I would say that that's going to be the first thing that my mind will automatically do without me giving permission. It will jump to that.
I'll go to skills. What am I great at? Strategy and analysis. I'm good at thinking. I'm good at taking big complex pictures, situations, and simplifying them, making them easy to understand. I do identify as a visionary. I tend to be able to see a future that doesn't exist yet.
Beautiful.
And create a plan to get there. I've been a strategy consultant for many years, and I enjoy that work. Coaching, mentoring. Always done that in any position I've had, even though it's never been a job. I've never taken any certification.
Right.
But in any situation, I will coach, I will mentor.
Do you feel that you struggle a little bit to see yourself as a coach officially because you have never done it as something you were paid for versus the other kind of work?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm speaking with a coach now. When there's something I feel to be very valuable, something in me says I shouldn't charge for it. And mentally, I've realized.
I've experienced it so much.
Yeah.
I come from that exact same value system. I believe, I should go jobless tomorrow because I believe everything I do should be for free. And I believe we will be able to offer it for free soon enough. Some things will be changing in the system. I don't know, universal income, whatever is going to come. But we're still existing within this system. And this system has these rules. Now, if you're not charging for your gift right now, you will have a survival problem, right? Because the system within which you exist has certain rules. You do need a roof. You do need food. And these are the rules of the game right now.
The best description I've heard so far is that if I don't charge for my gifts, then I have to have another job.
Yes,
And
that's the alternative.
And I'll be spending all of my time doing something that isn't natural.
You might as well charge, right?
Well, I could be living and having a good life while sharing my gifts.
Yes. My father used to always tell me, his work is creative. A lot of people have tried over the years to go and, well, will you not gift me this? Will you not? It's as if that isn't a real job.
Right.
And my father being a giver as well, such a giving person, I've learned the hard way that I will go and buy this person a gift, but I will not give my work for free. It doesn't get as appreciated. The energy exchange doesn't feel fair. There's a dynamic in the appreciation of the person that...
I really like that. I'll buy you a gift, but I won't give my gift for free.
This is my craft.
That's
I've
genius.
put my soul into this.
Yeah.
I'd rather go buy something like everyone else does, but this,
I like that a lot. So I've discovered that my Dharma is to be a teacher. And I realized wherever I've been doing, there's always been this element of teaching.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
I think you've touched there on something fundamental about you. Something fundamental about how you want to have your energy run through you and express into this world.
And now I'm not going to show you the bottom part.
I wish I peeked. It was right in front of me.
You had the opportunity.
Like all this time, I could have just read through it.
I'm sure you did.
I did not, I promise.
You said you're good at synthesizing and seeing patterns.
Yeah.
What should I do with my life?
Okay, such a big responsibility.
Figure it out. Chanel said
Figure
you
it out
would.
for me, Ray. Oh my God. She said I would.
No, I'm joking.
So she has a tendency to sell me a high.
She said you were one of the most intelligent people she'd ever met.
My God, did I live up to this?
You are living up to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do I apply this Dharma in reality? How do I turn it into meaningful work that can also pay the bills?
I love that you have reached this degree of clarity because this is it in terms of how the energy wants to move through you. Now, simply, the question is there resistance coming from the fear of committing to just one thing when you know that your interests can be so varied? Or what holds you back from saying, oh, I figured out my role, just in what lane? Can I make you close your eyes for a second? Let's try and take a little bit of a longer breath, just ensuring the out breath is a little bit longer. I would like you to imagine walking in a dark tunnel. And now suddenly there is light, famous light. At the end of the tunnel, you can see light. You only know that once you step in that light, what you will see is your heart's desire relative to your contribution. And when you're ready, you discuss that with me. What did we see?
All right. So I didn't see anything.
Okay.
but I had this word come to me, which is creation.
Okay, beautiful. So creation.
Yeah.
What do you make it to mean for you?
I think to create my future, right? In my future role or contribution.
Something that perhaps doesn't exist and that
Yeah.
you are being asked to.
Exactly. I would want it to involve some sort of creating something.
That is not yet out there.
We talked about Dharma previously, and I mentioned teacher. You usually have a primary, and then there's a secondary.
Okay.
My secondary is visionary.
I can see that.
And that means I like to see a world that doesn't exist yet and create it. One thing that comes to mind is I feel there are easier paths.
So there was something to that easiness, huh?
Yeah. I feel there's things I already know how to do that would guarantee success, financial success.
So if that weren't the question,
Yeah.
and if you could have a guarantee that if you go this path, money ain't going to be a problem,
Yeah.
would this remove the internal resistance?
Yep.
I'm so sorry to tell you, but you just unlocked a very big piece of the puzzle. I just felt, what's it called in English?
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps when you said that, yes, so good. I was like, whoa. This is something that you've already found. No matter what decision you take in terms of whether you go full in on this or part-time on this, you found something that moves you. It moves you in a way that is real. You're sure of it. You're only second guessing the financial side of this. Maybe because this is new to you. You've never turned something this. But you see what you saw at the end of the tunnel? It said creation. It told you, you are to create something from scratch. This is new created. Go for it. Now, inevitably, you're making a new path. There is uncertainty because, perhaps time to experiment with the system. Start the tiny experiments, because this will also help you then consolidate within that constellation of possibilities within this project, the ones that you actually enjoy the most and that you want to zero in on.
Well, the thing is, I'm already doing it, right? Even though I'm not getting paid for 50 lunches.
Yeah.
We're sitting here having this conversation, and I am sharing it with the world. So I think the next question then becomes, okay, how do I turn it into something where I can make a living from it?
I think there is just so much potential with what you're doing here. And this would bring me to the person that I would want to introduce you to for your next talk, who's also on the side a career coach, by the way. He's doing career coaching, not ikigai coaching, but inevitably he's been sitting a lot with being able to sharply identify what people are good at and pushing them. What I'm trying to say is that perhaps you do not lack clarity, you just lack a system that you can trust. You want a system where you go like, I have already found something that I'm super passionate about that does in some way, shape or form put together all these things that I love, that I'm good at, that people see in me. What I'm just struggling with, since this is so novel, what you're struggling with is trusting that there is a system that is efficient enough that, let's say, in 6 months' time, you're looking at an X amount of money and that this can become predictable and scalable, right? That's my impression. From the speed at which you said yes, when we removed the financial variable, my impression is you already have it. And this can branch into so many things, and it can expand into you playing a big role here later on as this becomes more tangible. This allows you to build an entire ecosystem, an entire universe. And under that, you can diversify the offers as much as you like so that you never feel drunk within it. People want this. People need this. They're struggling with it.
Which would be a part of it, yeah.
So you go and start with the smallest bit as you build. It's much easier, though, you being who you are with your openness and your competence to get a client because you say, hey, this is what I do. Right. So you start with something where you can already begin to have some feedback and some financial proof. And then those other things are a little bit slower processes because they also require you to be more rooted and more committed. And you're not relying on, the next video going viral because you already have a financial system that sustains you.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
I love this conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love your project. I genuinely love your project. And I think you have more clarity than you give yourself credit for.
I think so too.
It is clear and it does all come together. It does all come together.